It's a brand new day with Mona News. It's time to have your say. She's got the scoop, the stories, all the latest trends. Mo's got the news, let's hear it. My dear friends, from politics to showbiz, no story's too small. Mo covers it all. She's got the inside call, her voice so smooth, like honey in the summer sun. With Mo on the mic, you know the news is always fun. Mornings with Mo, the best newsy news in the world. With her style so classic and her stories unfurled, from morning till night, she's got us in the know. Turn on your radio, let Mo's newsy news flow.
Good morning, everyone. It is December the 2nd, which means I have so much advent calendar stuff to get back on because I had this great idea. I'm going to have an advent calendar. And then I was like, yesterday was the first. Welcome to Crazy Craziness. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing your Modly Mod stuff. Good morning, Christine and Spinster, Colorado Mountain Girl. Good to see you. Janie J, welcome. Welcome, everyone. So this is not in the genre of music, Good Morning Audio Coffee, that I normally know anything about. But unfortunately, our first story is that a former My Chemical Romance drummer was passed away in his Tennessee home. I don't know who this guy is, but I do feel bad for his family, especially to have, a sudden loss around the holidays. Former My Chemical Romance drummer was found passed away inside his Tennessee home, according to reports. Bob Breyer, 44, who joined the popular rock band in 2004, and is the longest drummer on record for the band, was last seen alive on November 4th. Breyer replaced the original drummer, Matt Pessier. Look, I am probably butchering his name. I am sorry. While serving as the sound technician for The Used when the band were touring together, but they parted ways in 2010. The cause of death is not yet available, but animal control was called over to the house to take away 2 dogs. TMZ reports that law enforcement said the body was badly aged, if you will, but they don't expect or suspect. English is my first and only language. Foul play. Like I said, it wasn't a big Fallout Boy or My Chemical Romance person. In fact, I think our high school still has that jacket for band. So the band had a 10-city tour beginning in July of next year, but Breyer was not scheduled to appear. The cause of death is still under investigation, so I'm sure this is going to be one that we are going to hear more about. In another sort of sad story to start things off, but I do feel like, we should definitely honor young sports players who have passed away, and this is a fairly big story. So a New York high school hockey player, Connor Casson, 17, passes away after collapsing on the ice during a game. His poor family, I could not imagine, just being there to support my athletically talented child and then to have this go on. A Long Island teen has died after losing consciousness on the ice during a charity hockey game in honor of a fellow student who passed away in a car crash last year. Oh my Lord. Connor Casson, a 17-year-old Massapequa high school student, suffered a medical event and passed out on the ice during intermission of the hockey game at the Town of Oyster Bay Ice Skating Center in Bethpage around 9 p.m. on Saturday, according to News 12 Long Island. multiple civilians at the game rushed onto the ice to perform CPR. And just a shout out to Sarah Boone, who does get sentenced today. But the reason so many people rushed out to perform CPR is that you can probably do it for about 5 minutes if you are doing it the way you're correctly supposed to be performing CPR without becoming exhausted. Good morning, Tammy and Tammy Bogard. Nice to see you this morning. So, while this is a terribly tragic case, it always does give me a little bit of heart that people run onto wherever these things are happening and do try to help. You know, there were people that just saw something happening and ran to help. Kaysen was transported to a local hospital, but unfortunately they could not save him. The cause of the medical episode is still unknown. Nassau police are saying that they are still investigating, but there's not any criminality suspected. He played for the Sharks elite youth hockey team when the medical episode occurred. Massapequa High School announced the death of Kaysen in a letter to students and families over the weekend. And what a good-looking kid. I mean, beautiful blue eyes. So I just hope that the entire community is wrapping their arms around his family, around his friends, around college or high school students, and who have no idea of their own mortality. I mean, when you're in high school, death is something that happens to other people and old people. And I say this as a former high school student who never lost anyone when I was in high school. Death happens to other people. It's on the news, but it's not, something that happens to you. So I hope that there are things in place for this entire, student body, family, and then his family and friends as well. And that could be okay. I see people stepping up. I see people stepping up all around. So as much as, we have to bring you sad stories too, people are stepping up and getting ready to, help people no matter what. Well, you guys, put this on your bingo cards. Apropos to the breakdown that I'm doing of the new JonBenet Ramsey documentary that just released on Netflix, Colorado cops say that they are optimistic that 2025 is going to be the year that they solve the JonBenet Ramsey case. Well, isn't that special, sweetheart? I hope they do, but let's be real. They've had a bajillion in 12 years, and they don't seem to be able to do this. Cops in Colorado claim that they are following up on dozens of leads in the JonBenet Ramsey murder case. They are quietly hoping that they can close and find a resolution to this, sources tell the Post. Oh, are these sources like we learned you had your secret squirrel reporters that you would just leak bad stories about the Ramseys out to? Or are these like real sources that know stuff, just asking for a friend? Quote, I'm not sure what it'll take to bust it wide open, an investigator said, but it feels like it's within reach. We're hoping for 2025. It's our year. 2052 rolls around. 2052 is our year. Momentum that has stalled since 2023 when the previous Boulder police chief convened a multi-agency task force to investigate the case. According to the investigator, the group has only met once in person. Yeah, I am breaking down the third episode this week. So yeah, that I will say that the documentary was it is very pro Ramses, but you also see the shenanigans they were pulling with uh the feeding lawyer or feeding journalists, didn't have a winnable case as far as a grand jury expert told them, but they bullied people into getting that. Sandy D, I am waiting for my final judgment on the documentary until I actually sit down and do all the notes for the third episode. But it has informed me of some things that I was unaware of because I was 12 and this case never really came back into my consciousness. According to an investigator, the group has only met once in person, but the investigators are still in regular contact with each other. I'm sure on Tinder, but how is that going to help anyone? It hasn't been as aggressive as everyone hoped for, said the investigator, but now there's a lot of pressure to get this solved, as opposed to, uh, I will probably be trying that. I am watching it, I take notes, and then I break down what I saw. I'm working on, I am working on all the things and learning how to do Discord. Another police source said that the new Boulder police chief, Steve Redfern, who took over in early 2024, is now turning his attention to the case. He wants it solved and off the books. He's assigning officers and resources to solve the murder, which has been a black mark on the Boulder PD. Quote, "We effed up the case from the start." I mean, I agree with that quote. "And now with new blood, we can finally fix it." The Boulder Police Department released an annual update on the investigation into the murder last Tuesday, the day after Netflix put out a viral hit new documentary, Cold Case: Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey. The killing of Cops insist that they were doing everything they can to solve this baffling case that has plagued them since 1996. Quote, "The killing of JonBenet was an unspeakable crime, and this tragedy has never left our hearts," Redfern said. "We're committed to following up on every lead, and we will continue to work with DNA experts and our law enforcement partners around the country until this tragic case is solved. The investigation will always be a priority for the Boulder Police Department." Redfern, who previously worked in the Denver suburb of Aurora, then took aim at claims that the detectives had not investigated all tips. "The assertion that there is a viable evidence and leads that we are not pursuing to include DNA testing is completely false," Redfern continued. But the Ramsey family has been critical of the Boulder Police Department, stating that detectives are in over their heads and haven't asked for the help that they need. While authorities sent several items for renewed DNA testing last year, they have been frustratingly unable to crack the case. Quote, "These have been horrible failures," John Ramsey told Today last week, "but I believe it can be solved if police accept help from outside their system. That's been their flaw." JonBenet's murder has confounded authorities since the early morning hours of December 26, 1996, when the 6-year-old beauty queen was reported missing from her sprawling Boulder, Colorado home. And, I guess until they showed that graphic, I wasn't quite aware how big the house is because it is deceptively small looking if you've just seen the kind of media pan of the front of the house. Another police source, or I'm sorry, hours later, John Ramsey found the girl's body in the basement of the home. She had a garrote around her neck and her skull was smashed with an apparent blow to the back of her head. Police initially focused on JonBenet's family, her father John, mother Patsy, and brother Burke. But 15 days after the murder, DNA that was collected from under her hands and in her private area seemingly excluded them as suspects. In the 28 years that have passed, no one has ever been held accountable for the unaliving of JonBenet. But John Ramsey has publicly said that he is cautiously optimistic that there will soon be movement in the case. They need to accept help that's offered to them. Ramsey, 80 years old, said, "There's a new police chief brought in from the outside. I hope he accepts help so this can be solved." Good morning, Siobhan. And Terror Tooth McCabe, welcome, welcome. So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I've heard this all before. Every time a new police chief comes in, I mean, anyone who lived in Delphi or in Indiana during the Delphi case We're 1 year away from solving it, y'all. 1 year. And for 5 years, we got nothing. California's Ghost Lake reemerges after 130 years, drowning 94,000 acres of farmland. Well, I mean, I guess it's Resurrection Lake now, not Ghost Lake, damn it. California. Marketing. A California quote-unquote ghost lake that disappeared in the 17th century is making its grand return after 130 years, swallowing up 94,000 acres and counting of private farmland. The Tulare Lake in California's San Joaquin Valley began to dry up in the late 1850s, not through some fluke, but through deliberate action taken to reshape the land at the expense of existing ecosystems. More than a century later, the lake started to bounce back with a vengeance in 2023 thanks to the massive winter storms across the Golden State and snowmelt from the Sierra Nevada. The lake once spanned over 100 miles long and 30 miles wide. Tulare Lake was the largest freshwater body west of the Mississippi River, and it's really difficult to imagine that now. Vivian Underhill, a researcher formerly at Northeastern University studying the phenomenon, told Northeastern Global News. There were man-made basins around where the lake formerly resided, but the sheer flux of snow melt have overwhelmed them all and submerged acres upon acres of farmland. While it's come at the expense of fertile farmland, the lake's return has actually started to revitalize the once lost ecosystem in the valley. Ducks and other fowl have flocked to the lake shores for the first time in years, and frogs have started to make themselves at home on the edge. Once there was so much water that a steamship could carry agricultural supplies from Bakersfield up to Fresno, then up to San Francisco, Underhill told the outlet. But the state drained the lake in the process called reclamation. If people could drain that land, it could be granted ownership in parts of the land, so there was a big incentive for, settlers to start doing that work. So hundreds of irrigation canals and basins were constructed to drive water away from the lake, and soon it dried up entirely, freezing up those 100,000 acres of farmland. Just because that seems... How about if God put a lake there, or Mother Nature, or the universe, or the flying spaghetti monster? It is too early and too Monday to get into complex theological talks. Just leave the damn lake there. The lake's return raises concerns in the community as water continues to rise, submerging not only privately owned land, but entire storage sheds containing materials harmful to the reviving ecosystem, like fertilizer, manure, and even electrical wires. Not only that, but the ghost lake could very well pass on again. While it's made a smashing return in the last year, this is also the 5th time that the lake has cropped up since 1890. The draining and flooding pattern is almost cyclical and could mean that it's bound to disappear again soon. Again, this is why we call it Resurrection Lake. Well, it just wouldn't be Mornings with Mo if we didn't have a weird, creepy dentist. I mean, if we didn't have some weird true crime stuff. A Colorado dentist accused of poisoning wife's protein shakes sought to unalive a detective as well, police said. With that face and those veneers, I can understand it. New charges filed against the Colorado dentist who fatally poisoned his wife's protein shakes focuses on his alleged efforts to unalive a detective involved in the case. A spokesperson for Aurora Police Department confirmed the accuracy of a report from NBC affiliate KUSA of Denver about solicitation to commit first-degree murder charge filed last week against James Craig, 46. Craig was previously arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the March 18, 2023 death of his wife of 23 years, Angela Craig, 43. He has pled not guilty to that charge. Citing a professional conflict, Craig's lawyer withdrew from the case just before prosecutors filed the solicitation charge last week. It's not immediately clear if Craig has a new attorney to speak on his behalf about the new charges, which also include solicitation to commit perjury. According to records obtained by KUSA, Craig was in jail twice with the man he allegedly sought to have unalive the detective, once in May and June of 2023, and again last month. The inmate has not been accused of any crimes in connection with the Craig case, the station reported. Citing multiple sources familiar in the investigation, the station reported that the detective who was a target of the alleged plot worked on the investigation into Angela Craig's death. The police spokesman declined to provide additional details to NBC News about the allegations. Authorities previously accused James Craig of dosing his wife's drink with cyanide and eye drop medicine, because it looks like tetrahydrozoline, which I cannot say, so I'm just going to say Visine. She first became sick in early March 2023 and was admitted to the hospital on March 15th with severe headache and dizziness. Angela Craig later died after experiencing a severe seizure. Investigators initially believed her death was a result of poisoning by arsenic and cyanide, according to the arrest warrant, but the county coroner later attributed it to cyanide and Visine. Authorities have pointed to Craig's internet search history, which showed that he sought information on whether arsenic was detectable in an autopsy. They also pointed to his online purchases. A week before his wife's death, Craig ordered potassium cyanide from Amazon and had it delivered to his dental practice. When James Craig's business partner learned of the purchase, he flagged it as suspicious to a nurse at the facility where Angela Craig was hospitalized. There was no medical reason to buy cyanide for the dental practice. Well, that does kind of make me a little bit more calm that, your local dentist shouldn't be buying cyanide. Okay, can we talk about her enjoyment of hearing that little whir, drill and asking me questions when I have said things all shoved in my mouth? Like, could we ask why dentists ask you questions when you've got like 27 cotton balls, a pick, and an instrument of Satan somewhere stuck in your epiglottis? And they're like, so how you been doing? Like, I don't get that. Stop asking me questions and I'll say nothing about your nostril hairs. That's the deal we should have with all dentists. Like, don't ask me questions and I won't tell you anything about your nostril hairs. According to a court hearing last year, Craig's defense lawyer said there was no direct evidence showing that his client poisoned his wife's drink. The lawyer withdrew last week on the day of jury selection in Craig's trial. The lawyer partially attributed his withdrawal to a belief that his client, quote, persists in a course of action involving the lawyer's services that the lawyer reasonably believes is criminal or fraudulent. Oh my gosh. Sarah Boone, you've met your soulmate. The jury selection has been indefinitely postponed. Okie dokie. More on law and crime. I knew I could outlast him. MMA-trained pastor wards off an axe-wielding burglar at the church, cops say. Badass priest right there. Father, wish you wouldn't. Like, Father, wish he would. Like, I would like to go ham on someone. He had his Tackleberry uniform ready. A California pastor received an unwelcome guest for Thanksgiving in the form of an axe-wielding burglar. The Antioch Police Department said in a Facebook post that the pastor of First Family Church went to check on an alarm early Thursday. As he arrived, he came across a burglary in progress. Quote, when the burglar saw his wicked deeds had been discovered, he decided to fight with the pastor instead of repent, the cops wrote. What he didn't know was that the pastor could win a battle of good and evil, and he held down the perp until APD arrived and placed the man in custody. Pastor Nick Neves told NBC News he saw the burglar. He ordered him to stop and said the police were coming. Quote, I grabbed a hold of him and we ended up wrestling in the parking lot. of the church, he said. Pastor Neves, 46, has a mixed martial arts background with some training in jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. That MMA experience helped him as he was able to control the suspect without hurting him, the pastor said. After about 15 minutes of wrestling, the burglar ran out of gas and the police arrived. I was able to pin him to the ground and he got up and tried to get away several times, but I basically was just trying to wear him out because I knew I could outlast him. Cops found that an axe that the burglar, who has not been publicly identified, allegedly used to gain access to the building. The pastor said the man didn't need to steal. He could have, asked for help, and most churches are okay giving that sometimes. Oh, Varsity Blues. Does anyone need like your own James Vanderbeek Varsity Blues jersey? Because in order to help his family right now, James Vanderbeek is selling some of his Varsity Blues swag to help with the financial burden of cancer. James Vanderbeek has noticed the financial toll that cancer takes on patients such as himself. Quote, merch drop. Excited to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Varsity Blues with a limited edition number 4 Moxon jersey, each one personally autographed by me, Vanderbeek 47 recently wrote on Instagram. Grab yours now at the link in my bio or head over to jamesvanderbeek.shop. He added 100% of my net proceeds will go to families recovering from the financial burden of cancer, including my own. Vanderbeek, who starred as Mox in 1999's Varsity Blues, reshared the upload of his Instagram story on Friday, November 29th. So there you go. If you need your very own non-Vanderbeek but Varsity Blues, jersey, there you are. Vanderbeek was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer in 2023, publicly revealing his health battle earlier this month. I'm very cautiously optimistic. I'm in a place of healing. My energy levels are great, he told People in a November interview. When I've been out of the woods completely for what feels like a responsible amount of time, I'll circle back and let you know I have a lot to live for. If you've heard about it, if I've probably touched on it, he told the outlet. This has been a crash course in the mastery of mind, body, and spirit. I thought this is either going to take me out of the body or it's going to teach me how to truly live in it. Vanderbeek added, I always associated cancer with age and with unhealthy sedentary lifestyles, but I was in amazing cardiovascular shape. I tried to eat healthy, so as far as I knew at the time. James is now leaning on his family for support, including his wife, Kimberly Vanderbeek, and their 6 children. Heck yes. You 6 children having people. We need more representation. Olivia 14, Joshua 12, Annabelle 10, Amelia 8, Gwen 6, and Jeremiah 3. I'm more grateful now than ever to my superhuman wife who has shown up on levels I never knew possible, who has shown me what unconditional love is and the magic that comes from that. I'm in awe of you. Okay, is it just me, but like, could you not say this to your wife instead of spreading it on the internet? But I still love Varsity Blues, so maybe we'll consider. We took some for the team, Julie O, just to, pad out everyone's numbers. In a cool and kind of uplifting story, a woman searching for her birth parents discovers that her dad is already one of her Facebook friends. It was a huge surprise. Probably not for your mom. I mean, I could be wrong about that. The moment he looked at me, he knew I was his daughter, the woman said. An adopted woman from Georgia recently embarked on a mission to find her birth parents, and she discovered in the process that she's been Facebook friends with her birth father the whole time. Tamuna Muzuride began to suspect that she might have been adopted in 2016. I suspected it about 3 years into my life. Just kidding. I am not adopted, though I do think I might have possibly been, just because I do not resemble any of my parents athletic ability wise. Now, at the time, she found her birth certificate with her name on it, but the date of birth was different from her own. Tamuna, who is a journalist, then set up a Facebook page with the hope of finding out more information about her roots. She eventually received a message from a woman in rural Georgia who shared that her aunt had a concealed pregnancy in September 1984, which was around the time of Tamuna's real birth date. The women agreed to take a DNA test, which later revealed that she and Tamuna were first cousins and that the woman's aunt was in fact Tamuna's birth mother. But when Tamuna made a call to her birth mother, it did not go well. She started screaming and shouting, said she hadn't given birth to a child and she didn't want anything to do with me, Tamuna told the BBC, adding, I was ready for anything, but her reaction was beyond anything I could have imagined. However, about a week after, that and a second phone call, Tamuna's birth mother also supplied her with the name of her birth father, a man named Gurgen Korovia. I couldn't believe these things were happening to me, and I couldn't believe that I had found them. When she went on Facebook to try to track down Gurgen, that's when she realized he'd been following her story the entire time and was even a Facebook friend. He had been on my friends list for 3 years, Tamuna told the BBC. He didn't even know my birth mother had been pregnant. It was a big surprise for him. The pair soon arranged to meet in his hometown. It was strange. The moment he looked at me, he knew I was his daughter. I had so many mixed emotions, Tamuna recalled. They do look super cute, not gonna lie. Gurgen soon introduced her to his extended family, which includes half-siblings and cousins, as well as aunts and uncles. Out of all of his children, I look the most like my father, Tamuna said. Tamuna eventually spoke more with her birth mother and discovered more about the circumstances of her own adoptions. She learned that her mother, fearful of the shame of having a child out of wedlock, hid her pregnancy and eventually traveled to a nearby city to have the baby in secret. So I'm glad that they're able to rebuild different stuff. And, while the birth mom maybe doesn't want to have anything to do with her child, at least the dad is stepping in and doing some, rebuilding and reestablishing a relationship for a child he didn't even know he had. So I always find that very, very awesome, because having had a really good example of a bonus mom accepting me in when I was about 13 and 11 years old, I cannot remember exactly, but being welcoming and open, and now being a bonus mom myself, I understand how hard it is sometimes to do that, and especially figure out where you're supposed to be as a bonus parent, in this child who has, good parents already, like what is my role? So I always like happy stories. And we're back to Peanut. Rabies expert says NYS's own data reveal why it was insane to unalive and decapitate Peanut the squirrel. Yes, that's how they test for rabies. You have to kind of off with his head, sort of, this stuff. It was totally nuts. A rabies expert called New York authorities insane for unaliving Peanut the squirrel and Fred the trash panda. We must not forget Fred. Saying the state could have figured out if the animal was dangerous without, going the whole decapitation route. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Edward R. Rensenmeyer told the Post that the odds were, quote, virtually zero, end quote, that Peanut and his pal Fred had rabies despite state agents seizing the animals in October and putting them down to test for the disease. There has been no squirrel-to-human rabies transmission ever documented in this country, said Resenmeyer, a Texas infectious disease specialist who has been studying rabies for decades. I cannot imagine, frankly, what their thinking was. If they knew anything about this area, he added. The social media famous pet squirrel and Fred, a young raccoon kit being nursed back to strength, were euthanized by the Department of Environmental Conservation in October, just hours after they were seized from an upstate home of caretaker Mark Longo, who runs an animal sanctuary on his property. DEC officials claim that the animals were taken because Longo was housing them without a permit and that a rabies test became necessary after Peanut allegedly bit an agent on the thumb through 2 pairs of protective gloves. But the state's own rabies information supports, Rensmeyer's assessment that the risk of infection was nearly non-existent. Some animals almost never get rabies, the New York Department of Health states in its Facts on Rabies sheet, specifically naming small rodents such as squirrels as only catching it under rare circumstances. While raccoons are generally agreed to be more prevalent carriers, the actual number of confirmed cases appears to be extremely low according to the data collected by New York State. There were just 35 lab-confirmed cases of rabies in raccoons in the 17 years since records first started being kept in 2007, the data shows. In Chemung County, where Peanut and Fred were unalived, there was just 1 confirmed rabies case in a raccoon during that entire time, and the state has no available records of rabies ever being found in a squirrel. The Center for Disease Control doesn't even consider squirrel bites reportable. Even if officials were afraid that Fred, who was left on the Longo's doorstep months ago in dire need of care, might have had rabies and transferred it to Peanut, Rensmeyer said that the rabies symptoms will show themselves as a ridiculous response. I don't remember when that happened, but yeah. So basically, they were showing no symptoms. They were not doing anything kind of becoming hydrophobic or being afraid of water, being unable to swallow, acting, out of character without fear, foaming at the mouth. There was nothing like that. So it's just absolutely insane. While the exact timeline for rabies infections in raccoons and squirrels is not entirely known, Rensmeyer said that similarly sized animals like cats, dogs, and ferrets will most always show symptoms within 10 days. As Fred had been in Longo's care for more than 10 days and Peanut had been living with him for 7 years, facts readily available due to Longo's widely viewed, social media, there were ample evidence to show that these animals were rabies-free. If the raccoon came to them as a frail little animal months ago, the chances that it would still be alive with rabies is very slim. Adding that quarantining the animals for 10 days to see if symptoms arose would have been a much more rational and common approach than to, unaliving them to test their brain. And even if the DEC agents were especially worried about rabies, which is typically fatal in humans once it reaches the brain, Rensmeyer said that the bite from the hand of an infected animal would take about 45 days or longer to transmit to the brain. It's not like he gets bitten on Friday and he's going to be dead on Sunday. They had a lot of time to think this over. They could have said, you know what, there's no emergency here, let's think this through. A reasonable thing would have been to say to the guy, how would you like to get rabies immunizations? Why would you kill the animal to study it to make sure it doesn't have rabies? The odds that it was rabies were virtually zero. Such a shot of rabies immunization after a bite would have completely neutralized any risk of infection. So, yeah, we have experts coming in, and what we normal, regular, not experty people thought was stupid and dumb turns out to be stupid and dumb. I can only hope that they thawed the turkeys before they dropped them from, re-entry altitude. It's a bird, it's a plane. In Alaska, it's both, with a pilot tossing turkeys to rural homes. Again, I hope you thawed those because if not, that's a meteorite just hitting your lawn. Like what's that crater from Turkey last year? In the remotest reaches of Alaska, there's no relying on DoorDash to have Thanksgiving dinner or any dinner delivered. But some residents living well off the grid nevertheless have turkey this holiday thanks to Alaska Turkey Bomb. For the third straight year, a resident named Esther Keem has been flying low and slow in a small airplane over rural parts of south central Alaska, dropping them frozen turkeys. Stay inside if you're throwing turkeys. Just for those who simply can't run out to the grocery store, Alaska is mostly wilderness with only about 20% of its land accessible by road. In the winter, many of those who live in remote areas rely on small planes or snowmobiles to travel any distance, and frozen rivers that can act as makeshift roads. When Kime was growing up on an Alaska homestead, a family friend would airdrop turkeys to her family and others nearby for the holidays. Other times, a pilot would deliver their newspaper and sometimes a pack of gum for her. Her family moved to the more urban part of Alaska nearly 25 years ago, but still has the homestead. Using a small plane she rebuilt with her father, she launched her turkey delivery mission a few years back. After learning of a family living off the land nearby who had little for Thanksgiving dinner. They were telling me that a squirrel for dinner would not split very far between three people. At that moment, I thought, I'm going to airdrop them a turkey. She decided not to stop there. Her effort has grown by word of mouth and by social media posts. This year, she's delivered 32 frozen turkeys to people living year-round in cabins that were not there, where there were no roads. All but two had been delivered by Tuesday, with delivery plans for the last two birds thwarted by Alaska's unpredictable weather. And welcome, Shizzy Raiders. Thanks for joining. Among the beneficiaries are Dave and Christina Lush, who live up the Yeltna River, about 45 miles northwest of Anchorage. They have stunning mountain views in every direction, including North America's tallest mountain, Denali, directly to the north. But in the winter, it's a 90-minute snowmobile ride to the nearest town, which they only do about once a month. I'm 80 years old now, so we make fewer and fewer trips, Dave said. The adventure has sort of gone out of it. And thank you, Snert, for gifting 5 memberships, and those went to Digistorm, Sandy D, Denise Sells, Spirit Matter, Marlena Mars. I always want to say Marlena McBride, but I know that's wrong. Forgive my country musicness of it all. I'm going to have to write out these tags later. I cannot get warm. I am going out to buy heated gloves as soon as I'm done with this, and possibly a heated cloak and scepter. I don't know. So it looks like she delivered them a 12-pound or 5.4 kilogram turkey that she was able to, provide them a little more. It makes things a great Thanksgiving. She's been a real sweetheart, and she's been a really good friend. Kime makes 30 to 40 turkey deliveries yearly, flying as far as 100 miles or 161 kilometers from her base north of Anchorage toward the Denali foothills. Sometimes she enlists the help of turkey droppers to ride along with her. And thank you, Sandy D, for 5 more memberships. And Snert, you were gifted a membership. Stacy G, Stacy, Roy Longsinger, and Kumagoan. If I have mispronounced any one of your names, please let me know. I do try to guess these out as well as I can for anyone who failed Hooked on Phonics. My spelling is apparently differenty. Even so different, D, that it confounded hooked on phonics. Kime buys 20 turkeys at a time with the help of donations, usually by people reaching out to her through Facebook. She wraps them in plastic garbage bags and lets them sit on the bed of her pickup truck until she can arrange a flight. Oh, good. Well, that's better. I'm glad I'm not the only one who's just like, English? Luckily, it's cold in Alaska, so you don't have to worry about freezers. She contacts families on social media to let them know of impending deliveries, and then they buzz the house so that all homeowners will come outside. We don't drop the turkey until we see them come outside of the house or the cabin because if they don't see it fall, they're not going to know where to look. Oh, well, it could be Mahawking Lao Sim Pills. That's how I say your wrong or your name wrong, MLS. But thank you so much for the super chat. As far as precision and hitting our target, I'm not the best at aim, she joked. I've gotten better. I've never hit a house, a building, a person, or a dog. Her reward is the great responses she gets from the families who record her dropping the turkey and others that send her pictures of their meals. So, what a cool thing. I mean, it's definitely not something you could do in the lower 48, but there you go. Now, I have saved the most redonkulous for last because what the hell even is this? You guys, I'm not a high fashion person, but even I am confused. What in the throw blanket is this chick wearing? Next year, I'm totally going to my Thanksgiving in a blanket dress, though. An influencer has been trolled for wearing an insane $9,000 blanket dress to Thanksgiving. I mean, y'all, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna make that for 10 bucks at Walmart. An influencer is being roasted for her over-the-top Thanksgiving outfit. Bridget Fouillon, 27, showed up at her family's holiday dinner on Thursday in a $9,000 hand-knit blanket dress. The New York City influencer showed off her shocking look in a series of TikToks stating, get dressed with me for Thanksgiving. This outfit is giving Barbie on top of the cake meets Christian girl fall. What the hell what are these words? What are the words coming out of her mouth? I just can't get over how cool this is, she added. When I saw this, I was like, yep, Thanksgiving. To complete her look, she also put on a white fur headpiece, white gloves, and a pair of silver earrings. My family will be in jeans, you guys. LOL, she captioned the clip. In the next video, she showed up to her Thanksgiving in this outrageous blanket, while the rest of her family members were dressed much more casually. Most of them had on jeans and shirts, and they were shocked to see her in, grandma's curtains and a fur muff for a hat and white gloves. Why? You guys, we're fast forwarding because I think the little kid has the best little kid reaction that would also be Mo's reaction to this. Now you have to see this kid's face. Even Opie was like, "The hell are you doing, ma'am?" You guys, this is the entire reason. This face right here is the entire reason I pulled this stupid story. He's like, "And I'm the one that has special needs? I'm the one on Ritalin, Mom? Seriously, cousin Hannah's over here dressed in a blanket, but I have to talk to Dr. Schneller about my feelings every week?" Look at her getting all upset that he's using it as a blanket. He's like, "Heifer, did you not see yourself? I was about to toss you on the back of the couch here." Yes. So there you go. Going out to Walmart after this, the rest of her family was it was a real fight between this face and this face. My guess if that's hand knitted, it doesn't really bring up in the article how much it weighed, but I'm guessing hand knitting all that yarn, that is going to be really heavy. Surprised she didn't have to duct tape it around the bubular area so it didn't, fall down. I just love how she's loving it and he's like, "Oh my God, this is my family." Gonna tell all his friends on Call of Duty, this is why I don't do holidays. But there you go. This chick decided to spend $9,000 on this ridiculousness. And it may not be, a blanket dress, but we do have the Emotional Support Pal Advent Calendar. So I have to do 1 and 2 because I forgot yesterday was a day. I am totally on top of things and a damn adult. So we've got Emotional Support French Fry for yesterday and an Emotional Support Nugget. If you need emotional support, we both have fries and a nugget. And then we've got the Sailor Moon one because, duh. Let's see if I can do this without destroying everything. Oh. Mr. Mo was like, "Why did you buy all these advent calendars?" And I was like, "It's for the show." And he's like, "Or did you just want a bunch of other Sailor Moon stuff?" And I was like, "Why ask questions to which you know the answers?" Queen Sailor Moon for yesterday. And then, oh, for the love of Cheetos. Oh my Bob, I'm sending this to Baker. It is a Sailor Scout as a rubber ducky cat. So definitely sending that to Baker since he's doing Turtle Boy stuff today. I am going to run out to Walmart and buy all of the organizational stuff and possibly, okay, y'all, I am not telling you to go out and be rampant consumers, but they have a wireless heating blanket that also doubles as a shawl. And I may just wear that tonight on on Nightly Newsy News with Mo. And don't forget, on Nightly Newsy News, it's Nightly Boozy News for December because I got first year ever the wine advent calendar from Aldi, and we are going for it. So I will be drinking wine, probably cut with a lot of Diet Sprite. But all the fun. I hope you guys are having a great start to the new month, and I will look forward to seeing you guys. We've got the sentencing of Sarah Paulson Boone, or just Sarah. Y'all, I cannot tell you how glad I will be to hear Judge Cranick roast the hell out of her and then forget about Sarah Boone. Okay, thank you. Because I am judging me because I was like $60 for a wireless. Y'all, I have never been cold. I I have no idea what has happened to my body, but I used to never be cold. I was always like, I think prematurely hot flashing for my entire life. And now I'm freezing. Now I'm cold, and I get what the rest of you women always say, like, I is cold and terrified. Because, y'all, I'm gonna have to start wearing mittens in my house, and I have a little space heater that's up to 72. Mr. Mo comes in here and he's like, "I'm dying. You're so hot in here." And I'm like, "Can't get warm. Please set setting on thermostat to lava. And Mr. Moe, not realizing that he doesn't have self-preservation. So he was like, when are you supposed to give those hot flashes you're always talking about? And I just looked at him like, I know you just got back from church, but you might want to pray to the Almighty again, because you bring up hot flashes and I get one. You're going to be sent right back to return to sender. Jeebus, come take him home. So I will be out running errands, but I will be back. I will be dual streaming with Baker, the sentencing. And you guys, on a serious note with sentencing, we do have, the victim impact statements. Hopefully they aren't going to be as heart-wrenching as the, you know, Lake and Riley ones, but always, if you need to take a little bit of time, if you need to, you know, t- drop off, take a kitten break, watch a funny kitten show, that's what we do. Don't worry about that. I never want you to view something that for me, for a view, don't put your mental health in that. I will bring the snark and the wit and the sarcasm, but these are not one of the more easy days. And then we can all thankfully forget about Sarah until her semi-annual, compendium of letters of complaint. That's about all I can handle with this today, with Sarah anymore, is a biannual, bibliography of her notes of complaint. So have a great day. If you are out and about, have fun and be safe. Stay warm. And I will be back here to go over the sentencing of Sarah Boone. And then tomorrow, we are starting our speed run through the Tony Tot case. So that means I'll be speeding through breaks and things like that. And we should get through it the rest of this week. And that'll really tie in and explain Legal Shenanigans Theater when we go to Tony Tott's Time on the Stand. So I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for joining. And let me see who I can send you guys to, because I am dead awful at this, but it is my next year's resolution, like the Boulder Police, to be better. Oh, it looks like Turtle Boy is on, or is slated to go to court. So I'm sending you over to Baker with updates on that. He and Jamie know so much about the Karen Reed case, and I only just vaguely stumble along, kind of knowing some things. So I will see you and send you guys over to there. Have a great day, and I'll see you this afternoon for sentencing. Have a great day, guys. Bye.